watch Nemo because we had it. And great story. Overprotective father. Lost everything, lost his wife, lost all the other hundreds of little fish eggs. And he only had Nemo left. And Nemo had a little flappy thing, a regular fin with a little flappy fin. And so he was extremely overprotective of his son. And what happens when we overprotect our children? They rebel. And so Nemo rebelled, got so close to a fishing boat that the diver caught him up in a net and took him off to Sydney, Australia, and put him in a fish tank for a dentist's office. And so now Dad's got to find him. And Dad's on this journey to try to get all the way to Sydney, Australia, wherever that is. And he's got to figure out how to get there, and he bumps into something named Dory, who's a fish who has short-term memory issues. But because he's got short-term memory, she's got short-term memory issues, she's got so much faith it's not funny. If someone says do something, she's like, okay. And she can't remember what she did 2 minutes ago, but she's willing. And this little clip is just an example of surrender. Turn your lights up. Any louder?
You just stepped out.
You know I speak whale.
No, you're insane. You can't speak whale. I have to get out. I have to find my son. I have to tell him how old sea turtles are. Oh.
Hey. You okay? There. It's all right. You'll be okay.
No, it won't.
Sure it will. You'll see.
No. I promised him I'd never let anything happen to him.
Huh. That's a funny thing to promise.
What?
Well, you can't never let anything happen to him. Then nothing would ever happen to him. Not much fun for little Harpo.
What's going on?
No. I'll ask him.
Dory.
What's going
Dory.
on? I think he says we've stopped.
And of course we've stopped. Just stop trying to speak whale. We're going to make things worse. What is that noise? Look what you did. The water's going down. It's going down.
Really? You sure about that?
Look, already it's half empty.
I'd say it's half full.
Stop that. It's half empty.
Okay, that one was a little tough
Therefore, since Christ has suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same purpose, because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. So what am I holding on to, and what has possession of me? To be free, you have to surrender, and when you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to fear. To be free, you have to surrender, and when you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to fear. We don't have a film blank here. This is for you to fill out. You spend your time with God and say, God, what am I holding on to so tightly? Is it things? Is it my kids? Is it my money? Is it my time? Is it my resources? What is it you're holding on to? What has possession of you that's getting in the way of what God wants to do in your life? Brokenness occurs when I understand and accept that placing my confidence in my flesh, which is doing things my way, using my resources as a way of life, is useless. If you go ahead 2 pages, there's a prayer of brokenness. And it says, Dear Father, thank you for delivering me from life in Adam and placing me in Christ Jesus. I confess that I have been a selfer and a total failure in and of myself, and I have been struggling to live the Christian life out of my own resources. I admit I've been trying to get my needs met through people, achievements, and possessions. I now give up on my self-sufficiency and do hereby commit my life unconditionally into your hands. I give up all my rights and expectations and give you permission to make me into the kind of person you want me to be. I believe your word that I have been crucified with Christ and have been buried and raised with him in newness of life. I claim resurrection life as my life. I have been raised into the heavenly places, and I believe that I now am sealed at the right hand of the Father. I choose as an act of my will to claim that Christ is my life, my power, and my identity. I thank you that my identification with Christ makes me totally acceptable, and I believe that all my needs are met by Christ Jesus. I choose to believe these truths regardless of my circumstances, and I trust you to make this real in my experience in your timing. I yield myself totally to the indwelling Christ for obedience. Do with me whatever you choose, glorify and manifest your Son in my life. Again, that is something you take, and you take your time with God, and you just rest in Him. The evidence of brokenness. Get back to brokenness. Brokenness is evident when you no longer react with your previous work patterns when the following rights are challenged. Your right to possessions. Your right to a good reputation. Your right to have acceptance. Can I tell you guys my water story? The guys washing the streets with my water? Anybody else? You remember that one? This is one. At the same time, we're having all this construction done in our home. Across the street, they're putting an in-ground pool in. So one day, this big burly guy with a bandana knocks on my door and says, can we just use some of your water to pressure wash because we can't do it something or other? And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. So he went out and got his hose and connected it to the front of our house and ran the hose out. 2 hours later, as I'm walking upstairs across the hallway and I'm looking out my window, there's the guy on his cell phone pressure washing the whole street. And everything in me went, whoa, that's my water! What is he doing with my water? I've been thinking, okay, wash a little bucket out or, whatever, but He's washing the entire street, for Pete's sake, and it's not even my pool. What in the world is this? And I'm getting, okay, and I've learned moment by moment. It's really not my water. It's your water. So I kind of calm down, and I walk by the window and go, oh, he's still using the, you know, going on. And I'm just like beside myself. I'm calming, having this conversation with God. Surrender, surrender, surrender. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. God, you're in this, you're in everything. God, you're in this, you're in everything. And after about another hour of the dog pressure watching the street, I finally had surrendered it all. And the anxiety was gone, the worry was gone, the upsetness was gone. I thought, who cares? Who cares? It's just water. So then, my husband and I were going to go out that night. It's about 6:15 or so, and I was expecting him any time. So I see the guys out there, and I'm thinking, well, at this point, I'm just curious why they had to use our water and not pool people across the street their water, you know? And so I go out there, and the guy goes, hey, you know, I'm the owner, and I just want to thank you for letting us use your water. I went, well, you're welcome. I was just curious why you couldn't use the pool owner's home water. He said, well, because of what we're doing over there, they didn't have enough pressure, and we needed strong pressure for the pressure washer. And he goes, but you have to understand a huge gift. He said, years ago, you could go to anybody's house and use anybody's water, and nobody would care. And now everybody cares. He goes, I went to your neighbor. She said, I have to ask my husband. He's not home yet. These people weren't home. They weren't home. They're too far. I didn't get to them yet. And if you'd said no, we would have been up a creek. And I just want to thank you, and I want to pay you for your water. No. I've surrendered this. So he's not paying for my water because this is a God and me thing, and I just want to show him how much I surrendered. And I went, no, you don't have to. I said, besides, I really don't know what my water bill is. You go find out what it is. The highest water bill you've ever had, I'm going to pay it. I said, oh, really? Seriously? Good. I'm good. I'm surrendered. Can't you see? Does my flesh look good? So then, my husband pulled, and I started talking to him about his family and installing pools, and you know, we talked about all kinds of stuff. Then my husband pulls up, and I go, oh, there's my date. He goes, where's your husband? I went, oh, no, that's my husband. So my husband gets out to go in and change his clothes, and so he comes out the front door, and I walk over with Ken, and I introduce him. And he said to my husband, again, thank you for letting us use your water. And my husband's like, okay, no big deal, because he never cares. He doesn't hold on to things. He's giving away my stuff half the time, so that's been a journey. Anyway, that's nice. But, so he did that, you know, and he just said, I want you guys to have a good, you know, a nice day and everything else. And so, yeah, you know, whatever. Well, then he goes over, he said, I have to get something. He goes over to his truck, and he comes back, and he sticks something in my hand, which obviously was a bill of some sort. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So he says, have a really nice day. And we're like, okay. You know, so we get in the car, and I unfold a $100 bill. Oh, no, you don't. This is not, you know, no, I surrendered this. So I got out of the car and said, look, Ken, this is fine. I mean, I really, and he said, no, I want you to have this. What you did for me was a huge gift, and I want you to go out and have a really nice day on me. And I went, thank you. And I got my $100. And my water bill was only $20 more than it normally is. Wow. Your right to possessions. Other ones on there. Your right to be successful. Your right to have pleasant circumstances. Your right to presume on the will of God. Your right to life itself. How about your right to be heard? Or farther down, your right to be right. How many times are this magical scoreboard up in the sky, especially married couples, that they think taking score, that if they're right, it's more important than they be right than their spouse. What is that? Give up your right to be right and your right to see results. You may wish, as an alternative, to use the following list, and there's another list there that you can look at. Again, being willing to be out of control. The number one characteristic of flesh is control. How you doing with the control thing? Am I believing in or living by feelings or old patterns, or by Christ within me? I'm obedient out of a love motive because I want to and not because I have to. And I'm not performing for God, but I'm actively letting Christ perform in and through me. So God breaks us. We go through suffering and brokenness for us to surrender. Not because he wants to hurt us, but because he loves us so much. He has so much more to give us, and he wants to get our flesh out of the way. And it's interesting because on our journey, most of the time, this is what we look like or feel like, and it's pretty ugly. If you walked like this, you wouldn't even think anything of it. You would walk right by it. But it's interesting because God sees in you all that he has created you to be, and he wants to bring it out. He wants to be glorified in you through his Son. And that's why we have to be broken. And when this rock got broken, what's on the inside? Isn't that beautiful? That's how God sees you. He doesn't see you as a mess. He doesn't see you as inadequate and ugly and whatever your issues are. This is how he sees you. And when he takes you on that journey to the cross of suffering and brokenness, he does it because he loves you. This is what he wants the world to see. Brokenness teaches me total dependence on Christ. It allows me to experience my union with him, and it conforms me to the image of his Son. Brokenness is a blessing in disguise. Any questions? Any comments? As a part of what we're going to do today, you can go through the areas that you have to let go. If you want to process that and put that on the page. And we have questions as well for you to go through and look at. I know every one of us has experienced brokenness of some type. But again, remember, hard times are not brokenness. Brokenness is the outcome. Because when I'm broken, I surrender. So take time in your groups now, and those are your questions. And if you have any questions or anything else, just raise your hand and point it to someone.